Sure. Donny, you want one?
Or are you going to the summit too? It starts at 8:30, so I know everyone.
I'll try it. Okay.
You want one or more?
This one will be deleted, okay? Does she have them? I can get one out of this book.
Donny, that your ribs are looking good, but it's gonna take.
I think I did, but I'm not sure from. I've got a Farm Bureau trip around that same time. I'm not sure if
I like to have one anyway. Right. Number 4.
Yeah, well, I'll see if I can work it out. I will. You going, Bill? You going? If I can work it out, I'll go with you. If I can work it out.
Hello, Donny. What's up, Slater?
Right above.
That's what we're going to do. Matt started to do the same.
No, I just did it all that.
Matt started to do it. Just remember to silence your cell phones, please, and if anyone wants to sign up for public comment, please come down here and do so. 11. 2018. Audit contract, okay. Okay, folks, it is now 7 o'clock. I will now call this meeting to order. And if everyone would please stand for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, we will observe a moment of silence. Thank you. It's good to see this number of people out tonight. We like to see large crowds come to our meeting and see what we do instead of guess and speculate. Okay, first thing here is our agenda approval. There will be some additions to the agenda. Number 4 will be deleted. We will add an 11E, which will be the 2018 audit contract. We will add 12D, Appalachian Regional Commission grant application. Any other changes or additions to the?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the amended agenda.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Gentry for the agenda approval. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rice. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay. Agenda is approved as stated with the changes. Okay. Approval of March 13th and March 26th, 2018, which was a special and regular meeting, the minutes for those meetings. Everyone has had a chance to review those minutes.
Having previously reviewed those, I move that they be approved as submitted.
Okay.
I will second that motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Wechtel, second by Commissioner Gentry for the approval of March 13th and March 26th, 2018 meetings. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay.
Third item is public comment. We have 3 people signed up for public comment. The first one is Maxine Dalton. And when you come up to the podium, please state your name and be aware that you have 3 minutes.
Okay. Walking doesn't count.
No.
Unless we think you're stalling.
My name is Maxine Dalton. I live on Spring Creek. And I'm here to speak for the submission by the Spring Creek Volunteer Fire Department for the fire tax. I'm not sure where this goes in your scheme of things, but I'm going to be out of town for the next 2 meetings, so I thought if I wanted to have my say, tonight was the night. I'd like to thank those of you who have taken the time and the trouble to return our telephone calls and to come to our meetings and get to know the community and get to know our firefighters. Thank you for that. So once again, Spring Creek is requesting an increase in the fire tax, and I would just hope this time you could look at it within the context of what you've learned by coming to our meetings, by meeting our really excellent volunteers and our excellent board. It's always seemed to me that we have to trust our firefighters, and I do, to let us know what they need to protect the community. I'm not on the board now, but I was on the board for 8 years. The firefighters let the board know what they need to do their work. The board discusses it. We have a very excellent board. They're very responsible folks. And if they vote for it, then they take it to the fire tax commissioners, the tax commissioners. Now, you've seen most of the process by which the board is elected. So that's all of the community who wants to be there comes and they vote. Then they take their recommendations, the whole budget, to the tax commissioners, the 3 independent folks approved by your board, and they act, and they approved it. So I would ask you, when you vote this time, to put first and foremost the health and the safety of the community and the citizens of Spring Creek. And thank you.
Thank you, Maxine.
Connie Mullen. Connie, if you will, please turn the microphone towards.
I'll just hold it. Does that work?
Yeah.
Perfect, sure.
I'm here with 2 things, and I will be within my 3 minutes on both of them. It's just a public service announcement. The first one is this Saturday is the Fiddlin' 5K. It is a walk-run that starts and finishes in Mars Hill. It's put on by the Rotary Club of Madison County, and it is to benefit the youth-based arts programs in Madison County. So like JAM, First Stage Youth Theater, those kinds of programs would benefit from it. We'll probably have somewhere around 100 people participating. If you want to get out, it's supposed to be beautiful weather, please consider coming out. It's $25 on the day of. If you pre-register, it would have saved a little money, but we're beyond the pre-registration. We'd love to see a lot of people out there supporting the youth-based arts programs and being a part of the community in Mars Hill to do this walk. The other one, I was sad to see that you took the Adopt a Highway off of the agenda, because that was part of what I wanted to speak about, which is the following Saturday. This is the 21st, in celebration of Earth Day. Downtown Marshall is doing an Earth Day celebration cleanup. And this will be in downtown Marshall starting at 8:45. We're going to meet at Town Hall, and we are going to have 5 areas of attention. I chose to be in charge of Hayes's Run because I cannot stand driving into downtown Marshall seeing all that trash. So there's going to be team captains. Somebody's going to do Rector Corner, which I guess is really bad as well. Main Street, we've got the Rollins community as well. And so what we're going to do is just have teams of people go out, wear orange vests, clean up some trash, take some pictures. Just a way of getting people to get out and celebrate the earth and try and make it a good point to have people think about not throwing their trash out. So I have a flyer. I could just leave that with Forrest if anyone is interested, and please communicate to anyone who might be interested. Thank you.
What was the date again for the Earth Day?
Earth Day is the 21st. Earth Day is actually the 22nd, which is a Sunday, but we chose to do it on the 21st.
Okay.
9 a.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John Caldwell. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is John Caldwell, and I would like to bring it in front of the board to modify the seasons on the box in Madison County. Our seasons, we've got 43 different box seasons in all 100 counties in North Carolina. And what I would like to do is have it to where it followed the same rules that the North Carolina Wildlife Commission has. You know, we're not wanting to do anything we're not already doing. The coyotes are eating us up. And now I have to release 20 fox a year, what the coyotes don't kill that I've already caught. And a lot of other guys are doing the same thing. But we just like to utilize that resource. And it's a health concern too. I'm sure all of us saw on the news where rabid foxes tore somebody up in Buncombe County or Henderson County. And I know I'm not using my 3 minutes, but I would like for you to consider this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Caldwell, can you confirm your number with Amanda?
Yes, ma'am.
If I can call you back.
Absolutely.
So I'll get hold of you. Okay, that completes our public comment section. Next up is Mr. Nicholas Honeycutt.
Barely made it. Saw you sneak in back there. All right, buddy.
Good, how about you?
Good.
Come on up and have a seat here, boys and girls. See how
Very
this
good,
goes.
guys. Welcome.
So, again, good evening. Thanks for having us. For those of you that may not know me, I'm Nicholas Honeycutt. I have the privilege of being the principal at Madison Middle School. And it's a wonderful place to be in, a school I love very much. So we appreciate the opportunity to share with you. We wanted to take just a few minutes this evening to talk about our one-to-one program, and that is a laptop program that we have at the middle school. So each student in Madison Middle gets a device when they come into 6th grade. It is a laptop and a tablet, and they will show that to you in just a few minutes. And you all have certainly helped fund that. We got a Golden Leaf grant that provided the devices in the beginning, but then with just some regular allotted funds from the county commission that come to the school system, we were able to purchase some additional cases. And the best thing that came from it is we've been able to fund a technology facilitator position, and that's currently being served with Mr. Andrew Beasley, who is full-time technology facilitator at the middle school. And without that position, our rollout of these devices would not have been as effective as it has been. So one, we wanted to say thank you. And then two, just kind of wanted you to hear from the students about how they're using these devices. As you know, technology is changing our world, and these students are more engaged. It's really awesome as the principal when I walk around and go into classrooms and see what these students are doing. You know, when we first got them, you kind of thought, in the past, students had kind of used laptops to do book reports and look things up on Google. And now, as you'll hear in just a few minutes from these students, they're doing so much more. But again, thank you for letting us be here tonight. I'll turn it over to them because I want them to share what they do. But first, I'll turn it over to Mr. Beasley and let him kind of give you a timeline of how all this has happened. But again, thank you for the funding to help make this possible. Mr. Beasley.
Handouts. Would you all like these? Sure. Start that there. Again, I'm Andrew Beasley, and as Mr. Honeycutt mentioned, I'm the instructional technology facilitator, and so I want to thank you also for funding my position. It's a privilege to work at Madison Middle School. What you have there in front of you, I just wanted to touch briefly before these young people talk to you. It's just a little timeline of what the one-to-one program has looked like. In April of 2016, Madison County Schools received a grant from the Golden Leaf Foundation, which made the purchase of the laptops possible. Everything else on the timeline there, most of it deals with professional development that our teachers and our leadership team has gone through. Part of the Golden Leaf Grant was to receive training through the Friday Institute. So we've been able to send principals, myself, and many of our teachers to Raleigh, to the Friday Institute, to receive the best training possible in the state so that they're ready and prepared to roll out these devices and really transform their teaching. That support has continued with the Friday Institute staff coming to us to provide training to all of our teachers, and we also received support from the Golden Leaf Foundation. Francis Bradburn has worked with us throughout the grant process to help us implement these devices. And I wanted to just touch on that so that we see Madison Middle School was a great school before we had laptop devices, and our teachers have really embraced the challenge of using that, and it's just transformed the way that teaching and learning happens in our school. And I just feel like we're leading in the region and the state because of your generosity and the grant that we've been able to do. But I'll turn it over to these folks. Thanks again.
Who'd like to go first? Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Lauren Yost. I'm an 8th grader at Madison Middle School. And I just kind of want to talk to you a little bit about how laptops have changed the way that we learn in our classes at our school. So one of the big programs that we use is Google Classroom, and it allows our teachers to keep us organized as well as teaches us to have responsibility for our work and for taking the extra step in our education. Like just today I asked my teacher, can you post something to Google Classroom for extra credit so I can raise my grade up, and she said, yeah, just be checking it. So I think that that's one of the big things that laptops do help us with is organization and responsibility. We have to know when we have to put up our laptops at what time. We have to know when we'll need our laptops. Just several different things throughout the day that keep us. Before we didn't have as much responsibility for ourselves or for our personal belongings, but now since we have these laptops, we have an opportunity to step forward and say, I'm going to take whatever steps are necessary to help myself in my education.
So hi, my name is Lexi Rogers, and what I really love about these laptops is how organized that they can help us be. Like before we had these, we would have a specific binder that we would have for each class that we would have all of our stuff in, but I think that these just make it so much easier because we open them up and it has our name and our information, and we can go like straight to these websites that are probably going to be talked about, and it just has all of our information, all of our stuff, and everything we need right there. And I also think that they just help us communicate with our teachers a lot easier. Like we can just send them an email and ask them questions, and we can use all this, and I just think it's really like a lot more simple and a lot easier whenever we have these.
I'm Mason Steinmack, and I want to talk about Edge Elastic, because with Edge Elastic our teachers can post tests on there, and we can take tests, and if we have to make up our quizzes, we can go back there and we can do it from home sometimes if we have internet access at home. And then there's Go Formative, where our teachers can post just quizzes we have, and they can email us about like if we have makeup work, if we have anything to do, and they can email our parents using Power School. They can check our grades and how we're doing, and just if we need anything to make up.
Riley Ammons. So, like a lot of them have said, it helps with our organizational skills. Like before we had to use binders and our backpacks would be full of papers and our lockers would be crowded. And now everything is on like Google Drive and Google Classroom, and it makes it a lot easier for us to keep up with our work. And like Mason said, if we're at home, we don't have to go searching through every binder and folder that we have to find that one piece of homework. We can just go on Google Classroom or Edge Elastic or Go Formative, and it's right there at our fingertips. So yeah, it makes our learning a lot easier, and it gives us a sense of responsibility, like Lauren said. Like, we have something to be responsible for, that we have to put up. We have to make sure that it's charging. If not, then a lot of our learning is sort of disrupted. So we have to make sure that we're responsible in charging and turning it off. So it's definitely helped with our like skills to make us more responsible.
Good job.
Hi, I'm Emma Hedgecock. I was here in 6th grade before we had the laptops, and then I skipped a year and came back in 8th grade when it was fully integrated. So I've seen massive differences. I've seen people who had hard times with organization easier, and the biggest thing for me is Power School, because before, checking your grades was kind of a pain because we didn't use our laptops all that often with the cart, and you'd have to wait till you got home and you didn't really know what it was all the time. But now we can check them at the beginning of every single class, and we know exactly when something's missing. When we've got a late grade, we know what we need to work on. We can talk to our teachers and email them, ask them what we can do to bring up grades that are not doing so hot. And testing is a lot easier because it's all right there, and it's not like anybody can cheat as easily, and it's easy to access. If you've missed a test, you can go and do it at home and make up lots a lot easier. Make up work is a lot easier.
Good job.
Hi, my name is Chase Cutshaw, and I just want to tell you, these laptops are phenomenal. Kids are more engaged, they're more connected. I've seen these kids like fighting just to get to their laptops so they're ready for class. I tell you right now, it's a war. I have been here since 6th grade. I've been all the way through, and in 6th grade, we had these lousy laptop like cards, and teachers would have to fight over them, like no joke. And most days, teachers couldn't get their lessons done because they needed the laptops and the kids needed them. Sometimes the laptops didn't work or we didn't have enough. But now teachers are getting done way earlier, and they're having to plan like 2 or 3 lessons at a time just for us to do, because we're getting done so quick and we're so engaged. And I know most of these kids now, like the troublemakers, not so more now that they have the laptops. They're like fully engaged and they're not goofing off with their friends at all. These labs, they are really phenomenal, and I thank Mr. Honeycutt for making this happen, and I thank you all too, because this has really changed our school and has made it for the better, because every kid is engaged and we're all prepared to school, and nobody hates school anymore. Basically, we're all prepared. And another thing I want to say is that not only are these laptops ours, we have also personalized them, such as, see, we got to put our names on them and stuff. And the inside even has personalized stickers that we got to put on our laptops. And I think that's a really great idea, because it gives us a purpose that it's ours and not just something that was given to us. It makes us feel like it was our own. It gives us a sense of like ownership, if that's how to put it. It gave everybody a sense of creativity too. So I think these laptops are very phenomenal, and that they were a great way of like engaging our entire school, from the 6th graders to the 8th graders, even the teachers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I ask a question, Nicholas? How many of you guys don't have internet at home? Kinda?
Yeah, there's a lot of kids in my family, so we kind of fight over the computer.
Okay, so you guys have, okay, I got it. But you have access to it. You might have to elbow your brother or sister.
Yeah.
All right. So all you guys have access to internet at home though, right?
I can vouch though, there are several kids in my homeroom alone who cannot access whatever they're supposed to be doing for homework because they don't have internet access.
That's the point I was trying to make. Thank you. Okay. Very good. Thank you.
I got a question. Excuse me.
No, go for it.
When I was in school 100 years ago, you know, I hated going home at night because we had all this homework to do. Do y'all have homework? I mean, do you really have homework?
Yeah.
Yes.
You do?
We have a lot.
Certain classes
Okay.
have certain amounts.
But we are prepared, like we put ourselves out there and said, I'm going to take classes that require more work, that require us to go the extra mile, to take initiative to step back and say, okay, where do I want to be big picture and how can I get there right now? So I think we have as much homework as we want to have, is how I would like to put it.
I tried to say that too. But
Yeah, they didn't believe it back then. Of course, they just invented calculators by the time you graduated high school. So.
Actually, we didn't have calculators back then. They wouldn't let you use them. You had to do it longhand. If you couldn't do it longhand, it didn't count. So, but anyway, what happens if you live somewhere where there is, like you mentioned, some kids don't have access to the internet? What happens in that situation?
So in our situation, we don't send the laptops home at night. We keep those at school.
Okay.
We just don't have, since we know a lot of students don't have internet access at home, and you know we're afraid of damage and laptops not returning always. So our policy right now is just to keep them at school. That way we know they're charged and ready to go the next day. So a lot of these students, because they volunteered to come tonight, most of these students are in some of our honors classes where they're taking high school classes as 8th graders, like English 1 and Math 1. And so, you know, they kind of, from the beginning, say we're going above and beyond. If there is an internet access requirement, you know, we just kind of have to excuse that or give them more time at school with a laptop. We have a reading block every day, 30 minutes, so some students will come down and say, you know, I need to finish an assignment on Google Classroom that I didn't get at home last night. That way they're not missing instruction, but they're just missing reading block that day, and they can catch up. But most teachers are understanding and don't give internet-based assignments as homework that are required.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
that's a good question.
I mean, do we still have books?
That's a very good question, and really,
because I've been told we don't.
Tell them about textbooks.
Well, I can tell you right now, I have a math textbook in my house. I have an English textbook that's in my locker. I still have a bunch of binders that are filled with papers, and like with the homework, like if your teacher needs you to get something done, then they can print it out, and you can do that the old-fashioned way. And so it's not all just based on technology, but it is more solely, yeah.
There are textbooks that we still use as resources. The bad part is that the state has cut that funding, and so I think last year the district alone got like $26,000 for textbooks. Well, one 8th grade social studies book is $113. So what we have textbooks, but they're not a new cycle. They're the old editions. So teachers are using those as resources, but in addition to, you know, now that we've got good Wi-Fi at school and these devices, they can access, you know, the most updated online digital textbooks at school. And we subscribe to some programs that have digital books and digital videos and, you know, that sort of thing. And Paul Barelovitz, our technology director, is here, and, you know, he's another key part of this, because when you get 600 devices in one building, that takes a lot of internet, you know, to run 600 laptops on Wi-Fi all at one time. And so, you know, in building up to it, one needed the instructional tech facilitator to help the teachers get to that point, because as you can imagine, some teachers are ready to roll with it, and other teachers are like, you know, I don't even know how to turn this thing on. And so Andrews helped them, you know, meet them where they are, but we had to have a foundation, and Paul and his company made sure that, you know, his crew from central office made sure that we had that, and helped us pick out the device that is easily manageable, and, you know, when it gets a virus, they can control that, and they can do that wirelessly, and, you know, so a lot of planning going into it. But, you know, one thing I want to brag on, when we were looking at these laptops, we visited other schools that had implemented one-to-one programs, and they all had the first year they had a dip in their test scores, you know, and they attributed that to digital devices and said kids weren't learning as much. But we changed that at Madison Middle, and last year, after our first full year, we actually increased in test scores, so we're excited about that. And I think that speaks to our teachers and our students, how hard they work, and you know that it's really not just a plaything anymore, but really it's an instructional tool. And you know, I would invite any of you at any time to come down to the middle school and just walk through and see what they're doing, because there's really some amazing things happening with them. They're making videos, they're making projects. It's really cool what they're doing. There's no more like, you know, how the hallways used to be filled with posters and cardboard things, and you know, that's just really an old age now, and now everything's digital, and they're sharing it in the cloud, and the teacher can pull it up on the screen and show it to the students, and it's really kind of neat. Any other questions for this group?
No, but I think she had something you wanted to say.
Want that?
I was also going to contribute to like after school, like the Wi-Fi problems too. We also have an extra 2 hours after school where there's like tutoring and clubs and that stuff where these kids have a period of time to get their work done and homework done. We also have a 20 to 30 minute period of homeroom where kids are really engaged and trying to get their homework done too. So we do have other opportunities if you can't get it done at home. I also know several kids who go to the local library down here, and they use the Wi-Fi down there too. So there's other options if they don't have Wi-Fi.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, and each Hot Springs, when we ran fiber to the school for Hot Springs, now the town of Hot Springs, the library's got fiber, so that Hot Springs. Marshall has fiber, ran to it, Morris Hill, so all the libraries have fiber to it, they have Wi-Fi.
Okay.
So the kids of each community, they can get access if they need to. But again, the most important thing is the teachers have the equipment and the students have the equipment to leverage and maximize the time while they got the student at the school. And that's the most important thing. We get a lot of funds. We get funds from federal programs for our internet access and wireless access points throughout the school. We have the infrastructure to do a one-to-one at the whole district. And there's a lot of money that has been invested that we receive from federally. But our challenge now is to get devices for one-to-one for all the students. And the teachers, as a middle school, have shown they have really utilized the equipment. And having Andrew here has been tremendous. And that same model could really make a difference for all the students. So that's.
Yeah, because when you talk to 8th graders, they're like, gosh, what are we going to do next year? We go to high school and have to leave our device at the middle school. So, you know, I remember when I was principal at the elementary school, we got iPads with some money that only elementary schools got. And they were like, oh my gosh, we got these in elementary school, now we got to go to middle school where they don't have them. And now they're back in that same boat. We've had laptops, and now we have to go to high school where they don't have one-to-one yet. So I think as a district, we're working on that.
It really is. The thing is, when each student has their own device, the teacher can count on it, and the student can count on it. So then, you know, when you have cards and they have to go check them out, when they have their own device, they can plan on it, and they're so much more efficient. They hit the ground running early in the morning, and they're efficient through the whole day. So each student and each teacher is able to maximize the time that we have with the students, and that's the most important thing. While we got them, let's get them engaged, and it's really a beautiful thing. If you haven't gone to the middle school, please, please, please do. Okay.
So when you go to high school, you lose the device right now?
Currently, that's the plan, yes, because it was a grant that was only for the middle school, so their devices in 8th grade will go to incoming 6th graders next year.
So how many devices would you need at the high school?
So
both high schools?
Yes, so we have about 185 8th graders that will go to both high schools, so about 185 to 200. You know, you need a few extra for damages and new kids coming in, so approximately 200 is what you would need to.
How many kids do we have at both high schools, roughly?
Let's see, I think there's, you know, 550 at the high school, and then at the early college, maybe 250.
Okay, it's about 800.
So about 800 for both high schools.
Both schools. And early college, they do not have devices either?
They have cards, kind of like the high school does,
have,
but not one-to-one like
kind of what we did. Over the years, we got grants, but you know, there wasn't enough money in any of these grants to do a true one-to-one. So we got carts, and so they do what the middle school did before. They would check them out. And they've got computer labs of older equipment that we've got over the years. In fact, some of the carts that the high school have now are from the middle school, because the students had one, we took those. So we're leveraging every piece of equipment that we can, but they're not their own, and they can't depend on them, you know, on day in and day out to have a device for the whole day. When they can take their machine to every class and have a battery, that's a critical thing on these machines, the battery lasts all day. But so when they have a device, and like she was mentioning before, it's their own, they can really get, you know, into the schoolwork and say, I've got my laptop, I've got everything I need, and now the teacher can plan accordingly. And that's the thing, when you don't have a device per child that they can count on, the teacher can't plan efficiently. And that's what they were saying, the teacher really can plan now. And the digital resources that the teachers have now, we say we've lost money for textbooks. You should see some of the work the teachers have put into their time to go out and get their electronic resources. I mean, they invested probably, some teachers spent 6 months trying to come up with information to plan because the lack of textbook money. But with the laptops, you know, they're invested in it, and they spend a lot of time on their own because they really believe in what they're doing, which is good. But now that they have the resources of the equipment, they can do that, and then they're going to spend their time on it because they realize this is an investment of their time and what they can do with the equipment. So.
Okay. Good job, guys.
All right, thank you very much for listening to us. Thank you, and thank our student for volunteering to come.
Dee, you're up.
I'm not my 6'9", so I'm not sure.
Come back to follow, Dee.
I'm excited to see you all
You gonna
every
sing
day.
and dance or anything?
I know, I feel like I need to do a backflip or something. Good evening, gentlemen, how are you?
Great. How are you?
I will be quick this evening. First, I would like to apologize. I got you some of these plans a little bit late because my typing skills had us reading lots of words that didn't make sense. So I'm hoping that you've had a chance to take a look at it. This evening, I just want to go over 3 things that I'm implementing at Madison County Transportation Authority. I'll need your vote on it, basically because this is going out to the community on proper procedure of what to expect as a rider, suspension and termination if we have some issues or events, and then also we have cameras on every single one of our vans, and we want people to know that and what we do with the video and whatnot. And I just would like you all to understand it, so if you get questions or whatnot, you know what's going on. Our rider policy is pretty lengthy, and it discusses everything from our ADA on what you can bring on as a service animal. It talks about the times that we are open, how to make an appointment, how to register. It's basic information. It's about 5 or 6 pages long, and it just talks about the Transportation Authority, what it costs, if you're a certain age, what kind of programs we have that can help you with your fare. And so it's pretty self-explanatory. And my hope is that I'll take all this, and every single one of the riders that are registered will receive this in the mail. And in addition, every time you register as a new rider, you will receive this information. We've never had a suspension or termination policy put in place. It is not to say that our riders are unruly. It is just that we do have incidents when we do need to make sure that people are following proper procedure, staying on the van for their own safety, the safety of other people in the van, and our drivers. And so I've put into play certain things like warnings and what will terminate you from riding our van and for how long. The best part is we have a transportation advisory board, and that board meets every other month. So if we have an issue with suspension or termination, they're going to review that. And that also is helpful for the person who has had an incident, that they can appeal and ask questions about why they were terminated or suspended from our program. The camera audio-visual policy, basically we have cameras in every single one of our vans. They are on every time the motor starts. The cool thing about our cameras is that every time an incident occurs, such as if they were in an accident, they can press a button and it will mark the video so that I can therefore go back and look at what happens. This is very helpful for insurance. It also is outside. It takes a look outside directly in front and also within the van. So if there's an issue on the van that they're concerned about, they can press this button as well, and I can roll back the video. We are supported through Scion, which is a company with the cameras. We're in the process of updating some of those, but they are all still in working condition. And then IT helps us maintain that to the best of our knowledge. So they do a great job. I don't completely understand it, but they go in and work and show me exactly what to do. And also in each of these, for the camera audio-visual policy, we keep our information for 5 years, and then we release it unless it's an incident, and then it can be kept for as long as we need to on jump drives, for video jump drives. So these 3 policies I just wanted to bring to your attention because I feel like we're a service industry and we take care of a lot of citizens here in Madison County, and I just wanted you to be aware of it and to vote on it and to approve all 3 policies as they stand, or if you have suggestions. This will be taken to our Transportation Advisory Board to review as well. But it just puts in policy and professionalism, safety, and the concern for both our riders and our drivers. So that's what I'm here for tonight. Do you have any questions about the policies?
Good work, Dee. And good work having the cameras. Those are very, very useful and beneficial. Yeah.
Yeah, they're helpful. So, and the other thing is that, again, we're going to take a Transportation Advisory Board. We've also sent this to Raleigh through the North Carolina Department of Transportation, who are also reviewing it. And they're going to send it to their Civil Rights section as well to make sure we use all the proper ADA language that we're supposed to use. So you guys will be the first initial kickoff of approval, and then it'll go to 2 more, and then we'll get it out probably by early May.
So are we approving these tonight? Okay, then I've got a question on the video and surveillance camera maintenance policy.
Yes, sir.
Letter, or number 10
Yeah, I saw that.
is, if we're gonna vote on that, we probably need to finish that out. It's incomplete.
This is the maintenance of records.
This is the records management.
Okay, oh, yeah. I finished that.
Okay.
Is it not on yours? Okay. I would be happy to finish that. Basically, this is on records management, and the recorded audiovisual data is stored in Madison County Transportation Authority Director's Office or Coordinator's Office under lock and key. It is maintained not only by the coordinator but by IT, and that those records will then again stay for 5 years, and then if there's an incident, it can stay longer. And I'm sorry because I printed the same thing and mine just ends. I do apologize.
Nope,
for that.
that's all right.
And I can get you an updated one to all of you in the morning.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you want to hold on that one, I understand.
Is there a B too that goes along? We got an A. Is there a B that goes along with that too,
I
or
think
no?
the B is how long we'll hold them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do
Sorry.
you need to hold records this long? I mean, that's
Well,
something
I know it
that's
sounds
invading
crazy.
the privacy to me. I mean,
Yeah, I know it sounds crazy, but it's just like if we held regular records, you hold them for 7, and regular, if it's a medical record, which we don't have, is 10. So 5 is pretty reasonable. The state recommends 5. It doesn't require it.
The statute of limitations for an accident is 3 years in the state of North Carolina.
Yeah.
So especially if it's something that pertains to an accident, we
Well, I
want to say that.
understand
Plus,
that.
you would have to save it longer if a lawsuit were filed, because
Yeah.
then that freezes the statute and keeps it going.
But you
So
just record people every day, riding and just keep all this.
we'll only save it if there's an incident, correct?
Only if it's an incident.
Yeah.
For example, if
Okay.
you come
So
riding.
it's not everything every day?
No, it's
Okay.
just the
Okay.
incidents
So
that we mark
Okay.
when you come through. Thank you.
We're not the was it
Video
TSA
police.
or
Yeah.
whatever?
Well, or the National Transportation Safety Board.
Yeah.
Which they recommend a minimum of 5 years. Yeah.
Mr. Attorney, have you had a chance to look at these?
My guess is that this is the recommended policy that comes from that's based your federal funds and your state funds coming, and all of these policies are formulated, and really they're dependent upon you receiving funds. So my guess is this is simply just an updated version of.
Right, we haven't had a suspension or audiovisual policy, and these are things that the state recommends that you have. And it's also very good for us.
so that we have endpoints and beginning points about conversation about things that may happen in the future. These have been taken from several places. In the transportation world, all us transportation geeks get together, and county after county use much of the same. I've added some things, obviously, in our rider policy that is, for us in Madison County, we're a little bit different. And that's what I love about it. So we're not exactly like Bunker County, so we've got some different things. But the basics are what the state recommends and what other transportation authorities are using in this region.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would defer to your transportation manager regarding the substantive terms that she recommends to be in the policy. Regarding the policy, by all means, it is imperative that if you are going to install surveillance equipment, that you have a policy and that this board approves that policy.
All right, thank you. Any more discussion? Any more questions?
Make sure you got them. Okay.
We want to do all three at one time, I
Yeah, I
guess.
can see.
Yeah, you can do all three.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we approve the 3 policies with the additions that are for item 10 that Dee will be providing us as have been discussed.
That is the rider policy, suspension, termination policy, and camera audio visual policy.
I'll second.
Second. We have a motion by Commissioner Gentry, second by Commissioner Wechtel for the approval of the 3 policies presented to us. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay.
Excellent, thanks. And
Thank you, Dee.
come ride with us now. We're really safe, and I get to take a video of you.
And again, I'm glad you're feeling better.
In other words, you didn't want us to ride there. You got the cameras?
I didn't say that.
Thanks, Dee.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dee.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Tammy, Cody.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good evening.
Hey there.
Thank you for allowing us to present to you tonight. I have with me Dina Stevens. She's our Director of Community Health Education in our community. And she facilitates and creates our community health assessment that we presented to you last year. She also creates and facilitates the Community Health Improvement Plan and the SOTCH, which she'll be presenting tonight, which is the State of the County Health Report. And she's an expert in the entire region. The entire region seeks her out sometimes for her guidance with results-based accountability. So without further ado, I'll turn this over to Dina.
Thank you. Thanks, Tammy, and thanks all of you for allowing me to come and talk about the State of the County Health Report. Just a little bit about what the State of the County Health Report is. We do a full community health assessment at the health department every 3 years, and our last one was in 2015. And then on the years that we do not do the full assessment, we do the State of the County Health Report, which is an abbreviated version of the assessment where we look at data and we look at our health priorities and the programs and projects we've implemented over the past year and the progress that we've made on those issues. So our full report can be found on the Health Department website under Publications, and in the document that was sent to you before the meeting, you have a link to the full report if you're interested in looking at that. The document that you also received is just some highlights from that report that I wanted to share with you. There is much more contained in the report. There's things like emerging issues in our community, new health initiatives that are going on, as well as some health data like the major causes of death, and then data points that we're tracking for each of our priority issues. So you can find a lot more in that full report. I just wanted to go over some of the highlights tonight to not take up too much of your time, but just some things that we're pleased and proud about. I would like to say before I really get into that this report is created by the health department, but it's not just the health department's work. It's the work of a lot of different agencies and organizations in our community, And the majority of those groups are part of the Madison Community Health Consortium, which has been around in our community since 1989. And it really brings folks together to focus on health. And out of that group, a lot of this work is done. And so just want to give shout outs to all of our different partners because we certainly could not affect any of these issues on our own. So the 3 priority health issues that were chosen in 2015 by our community were healthy weight, mental health, and substance use. And so what is in this report is basically what's happened just over the past year. So I'm going to start with just a few things about healthy weight. We have a Healthy Eating Active Living, or HEAL team for short, and that's chaired by our dietitian at the health department. And it is made up of folks from the health consortium, and we meet monthly, and that group is the group that does the work related to this health issue. One of the things that we're proud about is the Healthy Living Mobile Market, which is actually part of the YMCA that comes to our county, was coming once a month out on the bypass, and we appreciate the fact that we're allowed to use that space for the market. But they bring fresh fruits and vegetables to the community, and it's open to anyone, no questions asked. And they've been coming once a month for a while now, but this year they're starting to come twice a month. And they have really been pleased with the amount of people that are coming out and taking advantage of that service. They serve at least 60 or more folks at each time they're here. So coming twice a month will be near 120 people that they're able to serve with fresh fruits and vegetables. We also have on our website, the health department website, a logo for our HEAL group, and if you click on that logo, it'll bring up a physical activity and nutrition calendar. And what we're trying to do with the calendar is publicize things in the community going on around physical activity and nutrition. So we have all kinds of things on there as far as, like our food distributions at Beacon of Hope, to classes taught at the health department, to facilities that offer exercise, just a whole list of things on there that you can check out. Folks can also add things to the calendar by clicking a form, and thanks to IT for all their help with helping us get all that up and going. They can also take a survey about the calendar and whether they thought it was beneficial or not. And now we're going to be able, it's on its own page, so we can start counting how many visits that we have to the page to see how much it's being used. So we're really excited about that. We had an employee wellness event back in the fall. Brooke can echo about that. For our county employees, that went really well. We had at least 81 employees who participated in the basic screening, but there were all kinds of other things that they could choose to take advantage of, like flu shots, colorectal cancer screening, hepatitis C testing, just a variety of things there at the health department that were for our county employees. And so we really enjoyed doing that with them. So that's just a few things in that healthy weight section that I wanted to point out. At the end, if there's any of the other things that are in the report that you want to ask about, I'll be glad to answer questions. Moving on to second priority, which is mental health. Triple P is one of the things that we have focused on over the past year. We've had 7 parenting classes in the community during the past year. 25 providers are trained to offer Triple P. There's also been a couple of workshops for parents at the middle school. We also have a kiosk in our lobby, which is sponsored by Via Health, where folks can take screenings for mental health issues, and they can receive resource information. And over the past year, we've had 23 individuals just at the health department use that screening tool in our lobby. That mental health group has also developed a resource card, which is in the process of being copied and going to be distributed to our providers and our community members for folks who are in need of mental health services and they don't know who they should call or where to reach out for help. So that'll be something that'll be coming around soon. The last priority is substance use, and with our Madison Substance Awareness Coalition, we've had a lot of activity in that area. One of the big things is we were awarded the Drug Free Community Grant, which provides some needed funding to address this issue in our community. One of the things that they do is distribute lock boxes so people can lock up their medications. They've distributed at least 58 over the past year. They've also distributed 46 naloxone kits. They've assisted law enforcement with 2 drug take-back events. They have another one coming up soon at Spring Creek as part of the Spring Fling, I think it's called, or over in the Spring Creek area. A lot of substance awareness education, a lot in the school with 4th and 5th grade students as well as middle school students, and with special events like Red Ribbon Week and Prom Promise. They also did some education at Marshall University for the resident advisors and resident directors there at the university. And another important part of substance use prevention is having drop boxes where people can dispose of unwanted or unused medications. And they were able to get some funding. We now have 2 drop boxes at the Sheriff's Department and then 1 at each of the police departments in the county, so people can dispose of their medications there. They're starting to work a lot now that they have the grant. They've hired a youth coordinator, starting to work a lot with youth and forming a teen coalition. And they have taken students to some trainings and are starting to work a lot to build that system up as well. So that's just a few of the highlights, and again, I appreciate your time, and I welcome you to look at the full report, and I'll be coming back next year to talk about the full community health assessment, because we do our health assessment this year, and we've already started that process with community phone surveys. There'll be some key informant interviews happening soon, and we're forming a team. We have an orientation for our community health assessment team in May, so a lot going on around that already. So are there any questions that I could answer for anybody?
You guys do a lot of good work.
Thank you. We appreciate that. It amazes me sometimes at how varied and how many different things are going on in our community around health. You know, we may be limited in resources in some ways, but we are rich in collaboration between agencies, and we do, I think, for our community, we have a lot going on that's positive, and always proud to highlight that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Connie?
Good evening.
Donny, if you'd be kind enough to pull that mic around, make sure, because it doesn't go out on the stream if people don't talk into that. Thank you.
Okay. I have our annual contract for the social worker for the blind. This worker is a state employee, and Madison County shares in the cost of her salary, along with Henderson and Transylvania County. This year it's less than it has been in previous years, just because currently she only has 6 clients in Madison County. So we reworked the budget a little bit. She was coming for half a day each week, but felt really that probably half a day a month would be sufficient to work with her clients. She's been doing that since December. That's gone well. If there's ever a need for her to increase her hours, we can certainly do that. But the cost for the upcoming fiscal year, Madison County share for this worker is $427.13. And this, I've included this as part of my proposed budget for next year. This contract has been presented and approved by the Social Services Board, so I am just seeking your approval.
Okay. questions or comments for Connie concerning this approval for this?
It's currently 6 clients in the county, you said?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the contract as submitted.
Second. We have a motion by Commissioner Wexler, second by Commissioner Rice for the approval for the
Services for the blind.
I'm sorry?
Services.
Yes, the services for the blind contract budget as presented to us. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Connie.
I also have a resolution. Each April is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and we are in the process of collaborating with the health department to do some sort of event to raise awareness. But hopefully you have the resolution in front of you, and it has also been approved by the Social Services Board.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the resolution be approved.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Rice, second by Commissioner Gentry for the resolution for the Child Abuse Prevention Month, the resolution. All those in favor, raise your right hand.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney Donny Laws.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's difficult to make taxes interesting. I know I have to stand up here every month and I sort of say the same thing, but while I was sitting there listening to these young people speak earlier, it sort of hit home because I have a young son who's the same age as those folks, and I wondered if he could have spoke as eloquently as those young boys and girls did. But as they were speaking, I started listening to some of the things that they were saying and how that could tie in with taxes and somehow make taxes interesting.
Better call the kids back.
I heard them say, two of them said these words, make sure. And then all of them used the word responsible as they were speaking. And they said they were checking your grades, or their grades. And then they said they made up work. And then I heard one young lady say the word troublemakers. And then one of them said they made it for the better. So how can you take all those terms and tie them into taxes and make it interesting? Well, look at it this way. 4 or 5 years ago, you had a tax collection rate of about 90%. Now, there's lots of good folks here in Madison County who have been making sure that their taxes have been paid. They've been responsible paying their taxes. A few of them have had to make up some work. They've caught it up. Some of them are checking their grades. I hope they're looking at their bills and checking the newspaper. Now we got a few troublemakers. I guess y'all know who those are. None of those are you folks. And then we're all making it for the better. All right? So what does that mean in the area of taxes? Well, just for this month, to make sure that I meet my requirement, we've collected approximately $25,000 in taxes, and that is in the report. That's in delinquent taxes. Now, looking at RIA's report here for the receipts or revenues for this year, for past taxes from 2003 through 2016, which are all delinquent, they're not 2017 taxes, we have collected $683,000 this fiscal year. So I think folks in Madison County are getting very responsible. They're picking up on these things. If you also look at her report, through today's day for 2017 taxes, we're almost at 98% of the budgeted amount. And we've got April, May, and June to go. So keep our fingers crossed. So, you know, looking at these numbers, you know, folks in Madison County are really stepping up, and we're doing a good job. And, you know, y'all need to take some credit for that. You have been, each of you, you know, to a commissioner, been very consistent in making this happen. And, you know, it takes money to run a county. And, you know, $683,000 hopefully will go a long way. So, you know, thank you for your good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Got one other thing, and this isn't too interesting either.
Well, Donny, you know, one of the other things they mentioned was extra credit. Do we have anybody paying extra credit?
Donny may fall in that category.
I don't know about that, but, hey, whatever works. But I do, there are some other documents that were in your handouts, and what that covers is, I believe Rhea was emailed some documents from the North Carolina Administrative Office of the Courts. And the legislature recently has enacted some legislation that basically says in district court and superior court, when a judge is presiding, for many, many years, a judge had the unlimited authority to remit costs. Now, what that means is that if you have a traffic ticket or you have some kind of misdemeanor or felony, there's always court costs that are related to that. And right now, on a traffic ticket, your court costs are about $190 per speeding ticket or for a combined case. Now, rarely do judges remit the costs. Just tell the defendant or whoever that you don't have to pay them. That's a rarity anyway. And at least in our district in Madison County, when that does happen, I've always seen that the judge asks the defendant, talks to their attorney, and if there's a good reason for it, then the judge will do it. Well, what the legislature has done is that the legislature has now created some form of oversight on the judges, which basically says before you can remit the cost, you have to notify the county attorney and let the county attorney come over there and be heard. Now, the reason for that is that those costs eventually come back in to cover some of the facilities fees and the costs that we pay for the courthouse and all of those things. Now, that's never been a problem in Madison County. I mean, I doubt there's going to be many cases where I'm going to go in on your folks' behalf and look up at the judge and say, Madison County doesn't think you're exercising your proper authority to remit these costs. What has happened is that in other places where there's been bigger counties and issues without, that there's been some judges who have been remitting a lot of cost. And politics has got involved, and therefore this legislature's come around. So what AOC sent out was a form that they wanted all of the counties to send back, which said one of two things. We want to be informed every time a judge is going to remit cost. Folks, you don't want to pay me to run up to court every time a judge wants to remit their cost. And I don't want to go there, and I don't really want to contest one of our district court judges because we have fine district court judges in our district. So what I'm asking you to do, there's another block on this form that we can sign that says we do not have a standing objection to allowing the district court judge to exercise his authority. If you would allow me to sign that form, I can send it in, and then we won't even be I ever see that it becomes a problem of remitting a lot of cost where Madison County is losing money, I'll certainly come in here and tell you and say, hey, we need to change this policy. But that would be my recommendation, and I can sign it, but I need your approval to sign that, and that would be my position regarding that.
Is this a one-time thing unless it's rescinded, or how?
We can change it anytime we want to. It'll
Okay.
stay this way until it's changed. The other block I check is, yes, I want to be notified every time it's happened. And it's, and then I'm going to go to the hearing, and I'm going to sit there, and you're going to pay me for going over there, which may cost you more money than what you're going to get in the cost.
Costs more than the court costs.
But if you want me to, folks, I'll be more than happy to drive over here and send you a bill. I don't think it's prudent.
You have any idea how often it happens?
I would imagine, and this would be based upon me being in court, if there's 500 court costs that would come through and filings and things, less than 5.
So less than 1% of the time.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Certainly. And those ones where it's granted, there probably is a good reason, and all I can do is object. Judge can still does, all this allows me to do is go and object. I mean, he could very well look down at me and say, sorry, I'm still going to allow it.
That wouldn't do much good.
You've been there, Bill. You know the judge is going to do what he wants to do.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
I move we take the recommendation of our council.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Gentry, second by Commissioner Weckl for the approval of the advice of our council. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Okay, Brooke.
Hi there.
Good.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to chat with you about real fast is our third-party administrator services. It referenced our employee health insurance. So back in, a couple months ago, I came and spoke to you about selecting a broker as a result of an RFP process. At the same time, I put out an RFP for our TPA services, third-party administrator services. So we got 2 responses, and the same team was assembled, finance, HR, payroll and benefits. And we went over it, and we scoured all sorts of things, service to the county, cost, and plan set up. And basically, what it looks like is that for the past several years, we've had Tucker administrators, and that has not always been perfect, and I acknowledge that, and I think I'll be the quickest one to acknowledge that. But I've been very direct and clear in my communication with them, and their proposal came in lower, at the lowest cost. Simply because they went and started looking at other things at our pharmacy benefits. We kind of spoke about that, and there was a significant cost savings. So I'm recommending that we stay with Tucker administrators for the next plan year. I'm staying on top of them. I'm working with our new broker, and if issues arise, they will be handled appropriately. I don't want to say that it's not, it's just that they work for us, and I'm making sure that they're aware of that so that we can control this cost and continue to provide our employees with top-notch benefits, because that's what the goal is. So right now, we don't have an agreement or a contract. I haven't moved to that step in the process yet. So what I'm asking tonight is for your approval to move forward with that. And then when they do send me that contract, I'll send it to our county attorney, have him review it, and I'm asking that our county manager be able to assign it once it's been reviewed.
And you feel that this is
At this time.
Good in every way compared to what?
Compared to what was brought to us, so the other TPA that made a bid wanted to completely change the way that the plan was done. So what that, and that change is it's a progressive thing, and I'm really interested in looking at it, but maybe in steps, not dumping our whole plan into that change all at once. I think that that's a bit of a shock to some people's system. I said when I first came here, I wanted to be Madison County to be a leader in Western North Carolina, and I mean it. And I think that if we take these necessary steps, then the next couple of years we'll be one of the first county governments to make these changes, and I'm really excited about it. But I don't think that you dump your whole plan in on year one. I think that you have to be cautious while being progressive. And it's a balance, and I'm working on it, and I'm aware of it. And so this year, I think the best thing for us to do is to stay where we're at and look at making any necessary changes where we're at without going to that huge change all at once, which is what the other TPA, there were no other options with them. They said, this is where we realize cost savings is by going to this huge change.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move that we move forward with the process of continuing on with Tucker Administrators as our third-party administrator.
I will second that motion.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Wechsel, second by Commissioner Gentry for the continuation of the service for Tucker Services, Tucker Administrators with our employee health insurance services.
Thank you.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll move into personnel.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing we've got up is at our health department. They've had a vacancy for a care coordinator for children, CC4C for short. This position provides care management for children who are on Medicaid, ages birth to 5, who are determined to be high risk. And this position kind of works with the family and with all the healthcare providers that meet with that child and develop a plan. It's also state requirement that it's a social worker. And so the interview team scoured the applications, and there were a couple of folks that met the qualifications. They got an interview, and the interview team is recommending Caitlin Lissenby for the position of care coordinator for children at the health department.
Okay. Any questions or discussion from the board?
Mr. Chair, I move that we hire Caitlin Lissenby as our CC4C care manager.
I will second that motion.
We have a motion for Caitlin Lissenby as our CC4C care managers, second by Commissioner Gentry. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay.
Next up is also at the health department. It's in the dental center. So our dental center has had 2 vacancies at dental assistant, and that's really a vital role to the dental center. And so we've got a recommendation tonight of someone for Denise Pritchett to fill the role of lead dental assistant. The staff there's been really working hard to step up and to check clients in and to try not to have any lapse in service to the citizens, but this is a really important position, and I'm really excited about filling it tonight. So the interview team is recommending that Denise Pritchett be be hired as lead dental assistant at the health department.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, it's a critical need that we've had, and I move that we hire Denise Pritchett as lead dental assistant for the health department.
Second. Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Wechsel, second by Commissioner Briggs for the hiring of Denise Pritchett for our lead dental assistant. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay.
Finally, at the end of February, we had a vacancy in our library for a custodian position. And so this is a part-time, 17-hour-a-week position to clean restrooms, lobbies, and other public areas of the library at the Marshall and Hot Springs branches. And it's really vital because the staff does so much at our libraries, and they've really been filling in the gaps to have clean libraries for the citizens. So we're looking forward to getting this filled. The interview team is recommending Troy Griffey for the role of part-time library custodian.
Okay, any discussion?
Approve, you said motion, okay. I move that we approve Troy Griffey for this position.
Okay, I'll second that. We have a motion by Commissioner Briggs, second by Commissioner Bergman for the hiring of Troy Griffey for the custodian position at the Madison County Library and Hot Springs. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay.
Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Brooke.
Thank you. Miss Ray,
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Rhea.
It's not snowing tonight, I'm so excited. The last time we were here, it was snowing outside. So April, hopefully. The first thing I have for you is the March 2018 financial report. You have a paper copy of that, as I had some corrections to be made today that I noticed.
I did not get a. It's not the corrected.
But it's close.
I can go over those correct numbers for you if you want to write them in.
That's fine.
I will talk and I will tell you correct it as we go through. So on page 1, the bank balances, you will see we currently have $6.2 million in unassigned and unrestricted bank. Change on this is just under that, under general and landfill for the breakout. General fund is $5,036,638.89. Landfill is $1,041,446.44. As I've mentioned many times, this money carries us through to the end of the year, so we've seen the bulk of our tax revenues come in. You will also notice that we have made our jail loan payment and our school debt service payment. I don't think that was made during March. We still have the cooperative extension loan payment due. I believe that's in May. As well as unspent restricted money, Medicaid cost limit, and other encumbered amounts on there. We are also at, should be at 75% expenditure spend at this time. If you'll look on page 2, throughout all the next pages on the year-to-date far right column, that date should be 3/17, not 3/18. There were 2 changes other than that on this page. The contingency fund balance for landfill was accidentally omitted. That should be $31,074.42, as well as the contingency fund balance for the 911 fund, which is $262.82. And that includes all corrections. But you can see on here, to date revenues for general fund, we're at 74.32%. And our expenditures are at 69.24%. So we are pretty on target with that, a little under on expenditures, and I'm really excited about that. Forrest and I have been working hard to make sure we're staying in budget and protecting the funds that we can protect to get us through the end of the year.
Okay. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
On page 1, the far right total of the 6.236.
Should be 621451974, the same as the total unassigned unrestricted. There should have been a formula in there.
Okay.
Sorry. So another correction on page 1. The total for unassigned unrestricted by fund on the far right should match the unassigned unrestricted just north of $6,214,519.74. Thank you.
Not cheap, man.
I will go back and double check my formulas first thing in the morning. Any other questions or on this? Attached to that is the checks that we've paid for the month of March.
So that didn't change from what we had in the packet, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
The page 5, the year-to-date number for education, the 2.773 million.
Are you on financials?
Yes, I'm sorry. Page
That's
5.
okay. Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that for the county schools, or does that include something else in there?
Could also include AB Tech, if AB Tech's not on a separate line.
AB Tech is on a separate line. That is just county schools, but that includes the 4042 funds
Right.
that we have spent for them.
I just wanted to call to everyone's attention, the people who do not have what I have in front of me. Sometimes this board gets criticized because there's feeling that we don't pay enough attention to education. We pay as much attention to education as our funds will allow. And if you're looking at what I'm looking at, $2.8 million is nothing to sneeze at.
3/4 of the way through the year.
Exactly. And, you know, you look at some of the other departments that, you know, in the past, there's been a lot of expenditure. I'm very pleased with what we're able to provide to the school system and these other large department expenditures. And this is county dollars, right? I mean, this isn't matched funds. A lot of stuff we do at DSS, we get matching funds, or if it costs a $30,000 van, might only cost us $10,000. Connie and Tammy, thank y'all for what you do, both of you. That's all I had. I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention because it's kind of sensitive information, and we pay as much as we can. There's a school of thought that, hey, we need to pay more. There's also a school of thought that we might not be able to afford it unless somebody wants to step up and raise taxes. That's all I had.
Any questions on financials or the month of the checks for the month?
You asked about the checks.
Yeah. You have questions?
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Over there, let's see how many pages over we are. About 3 or 4 pages over.
Yes, sir.
You have nearly, just a little ways down, there is a $2,165 for jail repairs. Do you know what that was, as far as what repairs we had to have at the jail?
I do not know off the top of my head. I can get the copy of the check and email that to you guys tomorrow.
That's fine. Thank you. Okay.
Chairman, I would move that we approve the monthly financial report.
We have to do that.
We have to approve that? We have to have a motion. Okay. Stand corrected.
Okay. Next thing I have for you is budget amendment number 11. I forgot to do some math for you guys. I'm so sorry. I forgot to pull the total of net effect on the budget. Completely slipped my mind for just this moment.
Everyone review see the 2018 budget amendment number 11. Any questions or discussion on this?
I will note, we are still, using, excess revenue collections to bring down what we budgeted for federal inmate housing. And being very diligent to make sure that costs are covered, in all departments, with the funds that we have. So most of this is moving a little revenue here, or, we've got, a few grant things in there and stuff like that, but.
And this budget amendment also moves significant money from contingency into inmate medical, which we've discussed before.
Right.
That's an issue that is really, it just depends on who you're housing and what issues they have. Did receive word today that a couple of inmates who had been things going on for a while, maybe some of those are moving on, or if those issues are resolved. And that will hopefully help control that, because I think we're moving an additional $80,000 into inmate medical. And then we're offsetting those revenue reductions as well. So, you know, about 15 departments have seen reductions throughout the year to help cover those sorts of things, and it's beyond anyone's control other than to not have people there, and that's not an option. So that continues to be a challenge being worked through. It's in many ways unpredictable, but hopefully we'll see some improvements there in the near future. And also, the sheriff has said that we're seeing federal inmate revenues pick up, and expect to see a bigger increase in the next couple of months. And also, I think the budget amendment may not be in the budget amendment, but the sheriff moved $11,000 from his drug fund to help address one of the vehicles, part of one of the vehicles that you all had previously approved. So that helps offset that a little bit as well.
Forrest, in here, the budget amendment, you asked for $15,000 for building maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
And that is for the repair for the roof on the island,
Mm-hmm.
and other projects that we have other maintenance
Mm-hmm.
issues.
Yeah. Well, the maintenance budget is at 100%. So $45,000 has been spent. We had reduced that throughout the year, and it's been spent. So if you want a load of gravel or want a window fix, at this point we got to have more money in that. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We don't expect the roof repairs to be $15,000. So,
Right.
Yeah.
If there's
But
other
yeah.
things.
That should provide you contingency for other
Yeah,
things.
about $10,000 for other.
Yeah, I know we have still have some work to do at the admin building.
Yeah, most of that's paid for because we purchased the materials, but yeah, all that carpet has been purchased. But yeah, there'll be some. There's always something. Yeah. So
Okay.
through the next 2 months, there'll be some expenses there.
Yeah.
All right.
Mr. Chair, I will now make a motion
Okay.
that we approve budget number 11.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gentry for the approval of budget amendment 11. Do I hear a second? Second by Commissioner Rice. All those in favor, raise your right hand.
The next thing I have for you, we spoke at the special meeting at the end of March about the purchase cards. The bank needs some signatures, so I need a purchase card authorization signed by Commissioner Brigman and Gentry. So that is the next on your agenda. Just saying that you're allowing us to go into debt for these credit cards so they can extend a line of credit to us.
And that needs to be approval for those commissioners and you and I.
Yes,
right?
and Carrie.
Carrie.
Okay.
With the recent news going on in a neighboring county with credit cards, gift cards, purchase cards, whatever, can you make it really, really clear exactly what we're doing?
Absolutely. So right now what we have are regular credit cards that you have, I have, we all have in the county's name.
we have a limit set for each person.
I don't have one. You got that?
Not, no, but
All right.
but
I just want to make sure that everybody knows.
I don't have one either.
Similar to one that you may
None of
have in
us
your
have
personal
one.
name. What the P card system lets us do is set limits, not just a dollar amount limit, but we can set a per transaction amount limit. We can limit the types of places that things are bought. Like, you can say no restaurants, no hotels, no jewelry stores, no liquor stores, those sort of things. We can set, like I said, per transaction limits that I can't spend over $100 on a transaction without special permission. And so that gives us a lot of control. We can also stop a card at any point in time. So if a credit card gets lost, compromised, misplaced, we can turn the card off so it can't be used. We can, if there was a situation and we needed emergency purchase, we can raise the limit for an emergency purchase and then subsequently turn that limit back off.
So how many cards in total will we have floating around out there?
We're going to start really slow because the thing to know with the P cards is the more we spend, the bigger rebate we get, which is awesome. That's free money for us. So I want to spend lots of money on it, but I want to make sure that we have the controls in our financial system to handle those transactions. So I'm going to start with 2 or 3 cards, and my goal is by the end of FY19 to be fully integrated on the P card system so we can maximize our rebate. I believe we have 22 or 23 cards right now in the county, and unless told otherwise, we would replace all of those within the next fiscal year. Most are held by department heads. There are a few departments that have 2 cards.
And those are all drawing on one line of...
Yes, as this will be too.
Right.
Yeah, so
So
there's a county maximum limit as well.
So we have 2, will we have the one we have now, will that be eliminated?
It will eventually.
Okay.
So right now, on our current cards, the county has a $50,000 limit. So we have been staying below $25,000 for the last 6 months. So that's been really nice. The good thing with the P cards is we also cannot accrue interest on those. Where on our current cards, if there's a revolving balance, we're accruing interest on that. But on the P cards, we don't because they draft our bank account 25 days after the statement drops to pay the card off in full.
Okay. And you can also monitor that
Yes,
yourself in your
I
office.
can look in real time and see. Right now, what I see online, I can't tell you whose card made a transaction, but I can tell you there was a transaction. But I can see once we get the P card system in real time, I could watch somebody go swipe their card.
May I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a process set up to where you can pre-audit? Are you doing that on a monthly basis or a weekly basis?
We are working on that. The state has just put out a new general statute for electronic pre-audits, and that is coming to a policy near you soon. That changes the way that we have to pre-audit those. So we are doing the best we can right now, but with our limited knowledge of those transactions at this time, it's very hard to do. The P card system would make that much easier.
And in light of your earlier question, you know, that all county governments are now being told to ask questions. You know, ask questions. Don't just assume that everything is okay. So, and that's part of the reason that this new legislation, with what a pre-audit is that your finance officer, before any money is spent, is supposed to verify and say, we've got enough money in the budget to cover this expense. Well, in today's world, you know, you can't put a pre-audit certificate on a credit card transaction when you're buying gas out in the middle of the state. I mean, it's just practically impossible. So this new statute that's coming out is basically to give some guidelines. So what you may want to do is, once Rhea gets that, is have her come back to you with a policy that the county will adopt to make sure that these credit cards are, I mean, I think that's what you ought to do, be fiscally responsible and have oversight of what's going on.
That's already in the works.
Okay.
So I need approval to an incumbency, certificate of incumbency for the county and for all of us to sign that on behalf of the county. Please.
Now, just so it be known, I will not have a county credit card.
No.
Currently, none of the commissioners have.
I will not have one.
I vote that he never
Just
gets
have a
one.
gift card.
No,
No.
no. This is strictly for signature purposes only. All right. Someone make a motion on that.
Well, I make a motion that we take the recommendation of our finance officer. This will establish much better controls for our processes here.
Second. Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Gentry, second by Commissioner Rice for the certificate of incumbency. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay.
Item D on your agenda is the March 2018 tax releases and refunds.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments or discussion on the property releases and refunds for April? No? Do I hear a motion to approve?
So much.
I have a motion by Commissioner Rice for the approval of the March property releases and refunds for April. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gentry. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay.
Last thing I have for you gentlemen is my recommendation for the FY18 audit firm. We had 2 responses to our RFP. One was our previous firm, Gould Killian, out of Asheville, and the other one was Malden and Jenkins out of Atlanta, Georgia. Carrie, the deputy finance officer, and I scoured the information they provided. We ran some numbers and looked at the references they provided for us, and I have included on your sheet a short summary of what they said. I also attached to that their cost proposals, just the dollar pages to the back of that. Based on the hours of work they proposed in conjunction with the fees, I am recommending to retain Gould Killian as our audit firm for FY18.
Rhea, I was under the impression that the price of this audit going forward would be less than $55,700, since we now have a CPA on board as our finance officer who's been through the certifications. Did I mishear that? Was that not what we?
Yeah.
And in response to that, this for FY18, the state and the LGC have changed a substantial amount of the audit procedures that have to be done for the single audit to audit all federal and state funds we received. And I think that is reflected in this price as well. They said
This price is based on the hours that they anticipated taking, basically,
correct.
right?
Yes. Prior to the last 2 years, Gould Killian had logged somewhere between 500 and 550 hours of work for our audits. The last 2 years, they have logged over 650 hours.
due to the issues that we had seen in the funds that you know about from the previous audits on the Single Audit Act. So they are anticipating to not have those extra hours this year. They budgeted 512 hours of work. Their hourly average rate is $108.75.
Well, see, we had to spend more money simply because the state didn't have their act together. That didn't have nothing to do with us. That didn't have nothing to do with DSS. We started out with a six-figure cost, for lack of a better word, and I think we worked that down to, Connie, help me with the number. What was the bottom line number on that? Just
I think it was between $300 and $500. Right.
okay, so we started out at 100,000+, and we work it down to $300 or $400.
Correct.
And then we all get letters from the state saying, you know, we got to get our act together up here, yada yada yada.
The state didn't see the audit work papers, as they normally don't. They just see the report. What they don't realize that we will be responding to them, telling them that these issues were in the first 6 months of the fiscal year, that we didn't know we had issues because our audit for FY16 was in the process. And then once those issues came about, and we knew about them in January of 17, we made these corrections, and there were no findings in those final 6 months of FY17. But I think part of that is what's led the LGC and the state to revamp, so to speak, their requirements for the single audit. And unfortunately, we don't know exactly how much work that's going to be. They're guessing. All audit firms are guessing at this point. Both firms put in a variable portion in that, saying that we are projecting that we're going to audit this many programs. If we have to audit more, the fee may go up. Killian's fee will go up somewhere between $2,200 or $2,900, and Malden Jenkins said between $2,000 and $3,000 if they had to audit more programs than they were anticipating. But prior to that happening, we would have to agree on that. I mean, we cannot not agree for some part of that. They have to audit to get their percentage that the state's requiring. But that contract would have to come back to us for approval and to the LGC for approval to make sure they're not overcharging based on what everybody else is charging.
Is there an opportunity to negotiate that rate down? I just think the 55.7 is too much, personally. That's my personal opinion.
I understand that. I will tell you, they did give us a 12% discount of $7,250. Malden Jenkins, on the other hand, gave us a $20,000 discount to bring their price down to what it is. So their hourly rate, even at their discount, is $10 more an hour.
And why did we only have two? I mean, why did we only have two respond to this?
I don't know.
When did we send this out? How long have they had this?
They had over a month to reply. So they had an extended period of time. It was not a short time. We put it in the paper. I also put it on the NC Finance Connect listserv, which most auditing firms are a part of, as well as all governments. So if they like their auditor, they would say, hey, I found you some more work.
Right.
And only 2 responded. I know across the board on the listserv, 99% of entities are complaining because their fees went up. Some of them went up as much as 40% because of this single audit changed. And that's local people we all know in firms that we've dealt with before.
Yes. Yeah, it also concerns me really that we've only had 2 people bid, and one of them out of state. Okay.
And the out-of-state person, as you read my proposal, has only audited 1 North Carolina county and 2 city or towns. And that started with them in 2016. So they've only had 2 years of audit in the state of North Carolina. And that's the main basis I'm not recommending them. I am concerned about their lack of.
And the state's throwing new stuff at them too, on top of that.
Correct.
So, they don't know what it's like to have gone through a normal cycle.
Correct. And the contract, it is a one-year contract. We do not have to use, we can RFP again next year. So it's not, we asked for 3 years worth of numbers just to see kind of how they hit. But it is a one-year contract only.
It is what it is, guys. We can't force people to do business with us, so.
They can't force me to vote for it, though. I will not vote for this. I mean, I may be the only one, that's cool, but I think we're being ripped off here.
Well, I'm wondering what difficulty it would present if we went back out for another round of bids. Now, we might be, playing Don Quixote here. We might not get any others. But it does concern me that we've really only got one North Carolina firm that's interested in auditing us.
I will tell you, I worked in audit for a very short time at the beginning of my career. Because we have a modified opinion, I think that scared people away. That yells, that's a lot of work. They don't know the steps that we've taken to correct it, that we hope to have a clean opinion this year. But they just look back at the past audit and go, oh, that's a modified opinion, that's a lot of work. And I think that's part of it. The risks we take, number one, getting on their audit calendar. Most firms have already shored up their audit calendar for the upcoming year. And if we push this back any further, we're gonna be again at December, January before we get our audit finished. So if there are problems, we are 6 months behind in fixing them. If we can make a decision soon and get on the calendar, we might have our audit done by the normal October 31st deadline.
Yeah, all that understood.
Is there a time frame on this as far as how long this amount is good for, or did they tell you that?
It is. I mean, if you say that's the one we want, and we get a contract and we're good.
No, but I mean,
if you want to think about it some more.
If we wait to see if we can get someone else to bid on this, is this $55,700 still going to be available?
Not necessarily, and they could choose not to rebid because if they've already filled their calendar and they don't have the time to do it.
Well, I've got to honestly say that I think it's good business practice to occasionally have new sets of eyes look at things. And that's nothing meant one way or the other about our current auditors, okay? But I think it would be a good opportunity for us to have a new set of eyes look at these. Now, I do agree with you. I don't particularly like taking on an inexperienced firm from out of state. That's going to naturally occur additional cost when they come to work with us. That's built in, unless they want to sleep in the back of the car, right? So their base rate's already higher, and that's understandable. They're probably a big Atlanta accounting firm. But I know this creates some hassle, and I appreciate all of your hard work in making this. It's certainly not your thing that we haven't had but one person bid. But I would really like to see us try to see if we could get more people into this consideration. I really would. And I know that restarts an elaborate process, and I really, but I'm not comfortable with just having one firm, and I personally think we need a new set of eyes.
And I will add to you, for the most part, I agree with that. Most audit firms, and this one does as well, rotate audit partners. So it's not the same partner. We haven't had the same partner signing off and reviewing our audit for the 8 or 9 years they've been with us. I think Dan's been the audit partner for the last 2 or 3, and I think they usually go in about 4-year increments. So it's any thoughts of collusion or compromised, independence is usually addressed by that. They do also rotate audit staff as well, so the same people don't work on your audit every single year. But I completely understand your concerns.
I think it's irresponsible to start the whole process over again, guys. You could be left out in the cold. I mean, we can end up being left out in the cold. What are we gonna do if they come back and say, you know, we fill our calendar now? I just, you know, the enemy you know is better than the enemy you don't know. And I don't mean to say that they're our enemy. I don't mean to imply that, but
No, they're not.
I just, at this late stage, I think it's irresponsible to try and reinvent the process. I may be the only one that feels that way, but that's, I would just encourage you to be cautious about this, because I don't think starting the whole process over again is the right way to go.
Is there any way to just contact another company, just without putting a formal statement out to get new bids for everybody? You can't do that?
I believe you have to do a complete rebid, is that correct, Forrest?
I'm sure we'd have to do the whole thing.
And how much time are we looking at for that, Rhea? The whole,
I think in my opinion, it is irresponsible to give them less than 3 weeks, because they would have to look through our audit, look at.
So we're looking at a month.
Yeah.
And that would be for me to put the RFP out, advertise it in the paper, and then we have 10 days from the day it's advertised before we can take or open the bids, I believe.
So we're looking at 2 meetings from now. So in essence, you're looking at 2 months down there. You're kicking the can
June.
2 months down the road. I mean, I don't like the price any more than any of the rest of you guys do, but I'm just saying, I mean, you can't force people to do business with you.
I think, again, if we had a clean audit opinion, I think we might have gotten more prospects. So I would encourage, if that's the way you want to go, if you want to compromise and take Google billion this year and then RFP again next year with hopefully a clean opinion to go with that, we might have more people interested in it, but I can't guarantee that either.
Can we start the process earlier next round? I mean, so we're not at April meeting deciding for next year's audit.
I put the RFP out the first week in February and gave them the month to get me the information, so it was due back on March 9th, I believe. And then it gave us time to review it and then present it to you. I would hesitate to start before you can't really start before the year before the audit is done. So as soon as we get the audit done, then we can RFP if that's what you wanted to do. But
so you could move it a month earlier, basically.
Yeah, but that's about it.
And if they were to get our audit done in October, I can RFP in November if you really want. But that's contingent on that audit being done, so somebody has something to look at to gauge the amount of work.
And hopefully be a clean audit.
Yes.
Where was this presented to these potential companies? Where did you send this to?
We have to advertise in the newspaper, and we did that, and then I put it on the listserv for the NC Finance Connect, which is where every finance person that's in the entity and almost all accounting firms get information.
Okay.
I know.
And that's only effective if they're looking for business, right? If somebody has a book of business that they're content with and they don't want to take on a new client, you can't force them to take on a new client.
There was a third firm that had contacted us before we decided RFP. I sent him the request directly, and he elected not to bid. He ghosted me after I emailed him, so to speak. So yeah, I mean, we can still put it out there. I'll do whatever you guys want me to do. So.
What does it do to us? I mean, I share, and I've asked all these questions before you, and you know, I kind of have a similar feeling about things, but from a practical matter, I mean, we really are putting ourselves in a spot without going with one of these two. And you can start a month earlier next year if that's the case, to allow for any, because I understand that listserv, everybody who's on there who needs updates on policy changes and those sorts of things, they're on there. So that's really anybody who's doing what they're supposed to be doing in that industry should be on that listserv. I didn't understand that when it first went out. That's the same way that our health insurance stuff was put out, was a listserv for that area. And we got a little bit more response there, but really we only got 2 responses for some of those, too. So, I'm not loving it myself from the standpoint of I wish we had several choices. We are saving some money on not having to hire an external CPA, a couple $1,000, you know, that we've been paying before. But I think that it worries me to not go with one of these tonight or within the next week. You know.
There's nothing wrong with you selecting one and then attempting to negotiate the price down. There's nothing that says you can't say, contact these folks and say, we got a $47,000 bid from so-and-so and they've never worked here. Will you agree to drop yours down so-and-so? There's nothing wrong with that. I don't know whether they'll take it, but that's just an option that you could try. It wouldn't hurt to do that. I'm sure it's been done before to them.
All they can do is say no.
All they can do is say no.
Okay. All right.
All right. I think we've all got our reservations, we've all got our realities.
Okay, we've discussed it. We know what we're up against here.
Discussed it and discussed it.
Well, we basically got ourselves in a box. You know, we can't really take this out of state.
No.
No, I
No.
wouldn't.
They're out of the game.
That's not, take down state's not.
So we got no choice but to consider accepting Gould Killian at the price given.
And then do what our
negotiation.
And then well, after we.
I would say we consider accept them as the auditor with the agreement that we will try to negotiate the price down.
Yes.
Okay.
And we not sign a formal acceptance tonight.
No,
until we know
we
what the
will
price
just,
is.
right, we will just give Rhea the.
Yeah, you can accept them as.
We can accept them as the auditor.
And then ask them to
And then
provide a
negotiate.
contract to you with
Yeah.
the stipulations that, you know, you can negotiate the contract price.
Right.
That's how
Nothing
most
wrong with
deals
bargaining.
are
Okay.
done.
Yep.
I think that's basically our best option we have here.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not thrilled with the price either. I think with the size of the county we are, I mean, that's a lot of money. You know.
Well, and truthfully, they know. I mean, they've looked at us inside out. They really know that we don't really have any problems.
Right.
I mean, that's the bottom line here.
Price is on par with other, well, like in previous years. There's a nice, beautiful spreadsheet on the state treasurer's office showing what each audit firm charged each county. Their price has been on par, with the exception of the last 2 years because they increased work with their competitors. So, I will also note if they decide to do the same math that I have done at the bottom of this page, if you look at Malden Jenkins' price at the same hourly rate or at the same number of hours, Malden Jenkins would have come in at $59,000
Right.
with their $20,000 discount. So,
But
I will again.
There's no guarantee.
well, what I look at here is you do a very good job with our financing and our budget, and I look at that as being a benefit to this company. Therefore, they should take that into consideration compared to years past.
Right.
And I don't feel that they are doing it.
I mean, what I was told was that is part of that discount. They didn't bid it based on the number of hours that they've done for the past 2 years. because they are also anticipating a clean report, so they back down to the hours they were doing previously.
Okay.
So that's putting a lot of faith in us as well. But yes, I completely understand. I will do whatever you
Okay.
guys would like. If you want me to go back and ask for a bigger discount or a reduced fee, you tell me where you want me to
All
go
they
with
can-
that.
Well, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Just like Commissioner Wexler said, all they can do is say no.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm all for that, to attempt that if need be.
The other thing I would suggest too, if we could, is the price from Mullen Jenkins includes, even though they're higher, it does include auditing up to 4 major programs versus Gould Killian, which includes, their price includes 2. Which I know in the past 2 has been sufficient, right?
They've done 1 in the past because they've only had to do 1
Okay.
to meet their threshold. They have looked at what we've done in the past and tried to predict what they think. They think
Yeah.
we will only need 2, but they don't know for sure.
At the very least, ultimately, if we end up having to hold our nose and take our medicine, we can, if they're not willing to come down on their price, we can at least get them maybe to consider agreeing to audit up to 4 major programs for the price.
Yes. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
That would be my suggestion, so.
Commissioner Wexler, why don't you make that motion?
Well, we can discuss the motion as what we are saying is we will accept the bid from Gould Killian with the understanding that our county manager and finance officer will attempt to negotiate that fee lower.
A better rate and or better terms.
And or better terms.
Okay.
Including but not limited to up to 4
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
major programs.
4 programs.
Yes.
What if they don't accept that?
I'm sorry?
What if they don't accept that? What if they say no, flat out, no, not gonna do it?
Well, then we will go with the fee that is before us.
That's what I said,
Yeah.
for 2.
We haven't, what choice do we have at this time?
Well, I know.
I mean,
We're
that's-
in a box.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
we're
in a
boxed.
position here with this that we can't go out here and make people put in a bid if they don't want to, so.
That's right.
It's disappointing to me that we didn't get any more than this, so.
I think if we come back next year with a clean bill of health, that's gonna make us more attractive to
That's
Oh, yeah.
additional
That's
firms, and I
I
think
think so
that's what
too.
we
That's,
need to focus on. Take our medicine, get our house in order, and then put the RFP back out next year, and
Oh, yeah.
and hopefully
That's very
get
valid.
more interest. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's like you're trying to sell somebody a car with a blown engine. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
no flat tire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
okay.
The engine still works.
Actually, what was wrong with the car was neither of those.
That's right.
It was a little bit low with washer fluid. When you
I thought it
get
was a
right
second
down
paint
to it,
job.
Yeah.
it was really low in washer fluid.
And I really think it needs to be reiterated one last time, that after all the dust was cleared and everything was settled, the amount here, and it's still direct result of the state's incompetence in how it administered a program that we were audited for.
That's right.
But we were audited for it. And we were found in the end to be a help, virtually no harm. Okay? But that process is still there. And so with reservation, but understanding the necessity, I will make that motion as we have all discussed.
and I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Gentry, second by Commissioner Wexler for the audit firm of Gould and Killian with the items that were discussed that will be pending. All right. Second by Commissioner Wexler. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed? Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Probably not Ireland. There's no snakes in Ireland.
Thanks, Rhea.
Yep. No snakes.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I know I always hesitate to refer to what another county's doing when somebody's going through a mess, but I think it says a lot, the attention you all pay to the decision you all make as a board, when you look at the strategy of just overlooking it and saying the manager says it, staff says it, we trust them, glad y'all trust me on a lot of things. But I think it says a lot that y'all verify information and check on things, and I think that's part of your role, and that's a good thing. And the amount of money that we worry about in this county because of the scale compared to some others, we know that every cent counts, and y'all know that every cent counts, so that's a good thing. One little, some good news, depending on how you look at it, I think it's good news, is the census estimate for 2017 was released a few weeks ago, and Madison County was one of the 66 counties in North Carolina that saw population growth in the year. And when you look at rural, urban in North Carolina, there are a lot more rural counties who aren't seeing that growth than are. And you know, Yancey County saw a 0.4% decrease. This is actually from 2010 to 2017, these numbers. We saw a 4.7% increase in that 7-year period. Of course, that's an estimate. That's about 982 people. Yancey County saw a 0.4% decrease. Mitchell County saw over a 3% decrease. Henderson and Buncombe both increased by over 8%. Their increase is bigger than our county. Put those things in perspective. You know, that's how it is. And you have counties down east or about 20% or so. 4.7% in 7 years is very manageable, and it says a lot about where our county's headed. It says a lot about challenges we'll face the next several years if that continues. But you don't want to be a county that's losing people. And we've been in that boat before. And I think it says a lot about the type of county we are. We're located in a good place to be who we are, but I think it also says a lot about the quality of life and desirability of people coming here. Some updates from last meeting, just a couple of them. You all had approved the application on behalf of the Community Housing Coalition for home funds last month, and they were awarded the full amount of $100,000 from the Asheville Regional Housing Consortium. Sweet. So that will fund repair of 4 houses in Madison County. That is good news coming in. It's one of the only projects to be funded at its full amount. One of the smaller dollar amount projects which helped make that work. But that's really good for CHC and good for Madison County. You all removed the Adopt a Highway item from your agenda because the person who we had, Jeff Waite with DOT Roadside Environmental, he's in Raleigh for the next several days, so he's not available, but is glad to come to a future meeting and talk with y'all about Adopt a Highway and some other programs. I did speak with Chris Deaton, our county engineer, and he confirmed they're getting the same increase in complaints since the state budget was reduced to eliminate inmate work crews. We're seeing that now going into the first year of that, and you see it in a few spots in particular throughout the county. And while it's easy to see how they can save a good bit of money doing that, and the county has to do those sorts of things sometimes too, it's really creating some problems. As was mentioned at your February meeting, DOT does contract with a private vendor to do cleanup on the main roads in the county, and that's basically I-26, 19, 2570, 213, 208, not 209, it doesn't appear according to a map that's on DOT's website, and not 212 and not 63. So those are some kind of main roads going to areas of the county that are not contracted, and maybe we need to look at that, look to see if that's a possibility. There are about 15 additional side roads in the county that are part of the official Adopt a Highway program. There are many more roads that people just take care of without being part of that program, clearly, from where you, if you don't see trash, I say somebody's picked it up, because we see they're not just picking 3 spots to throw it out. So hopefully Mr. Waite will be available at a meeting coming up very soon, but just some information on Adopt a Highway, which I think we can post on the county website and maybe work on encouraging in other ways in the county. Somebody has to agree to a minimum length of 2 miles, up to 40 times a year for pickup. DOT provides the bags. Group just tells them and they'll go pick them up. Unless it's recycling, in which case the group has to take those to the nearest center, or whatever center they want to, but and they can keep any money they make off the recycling. So it's going to have to be a citizen-led effort. The state can always change their policies. I'm sure they're hearing issues from throughout the state with what's happened by them cutting those work crews. So that's something to weigh in about, and hopefully they'll put that back in. As soon as he's available, we'll have to come to a meeting. Any questions on that, any of those things?
Forrest, when we go to Raleigh for the county day in May, would it be possible to know what committee that might be good to lobby while we're down there? Individuals that it might be good to reach out to on those Senate and House committees to see how we might address that, and how we might even, you know where I'm coming from, who we should try to contact in the General Assembly. And since some of us are going to be down there for a day or so, plus if there's any of those other folks that we can reach out to, because this is an issue. As I travel all over the state, when you get into rural North Carolina, and I'm talking about going to the coast, you go through 2 or 3 of those counties, folks, and it looks like a pig pen. And it's because in a lot of the rural counties, there's simply not the density of people to police those roads. And everybody flying through with their trash coming out of the back of the pickup truck and everywhere else. But since some of us are going to be down there, you know, in May, so you'd be happy enough to get us some of that information.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Next, I think, is you have a proclamation, Mayor and County Recognition Day for National Service as part of AmeriCorps and Senior Corps. This is proclaiming April 3rd as National Service Recognition Day. Encourage residents to recognize the positive impact of national service in our county, thank those who serve, and find ways to get back to their communities.
Any questions or comments for this? Okay.
Yeah, you want to make one?
Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the resolution as proposed for Mayors and County Recognition Day for National Service.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Gentry for the Mayor and County Recognition Day for National Service, April 3rd.
Will that be for next year?
Well, it's sort of
They did get it in after your last meeting, and they understood when you wouldn't meet again until after the date, but they still would like you to pass.
Yeah,
okay.
It is 2018.
That's government work.
No kidding.
Also second by Commissioner Rice. All those in favor, raise your hand, right hand. Okay.
Force.
Yes.
While we're discussing that, communicated with Representative Presnell, and she has she said that it will definitely be a topic for discussion. She knows the need, especially here in the West in particular, and it will be a major topic of discussion for fiscal year 2019-2020. But the contract has already been awarded by the state for this fiscal year, or this cycle.
So that explains the 2570 in those roads. It doesn't explain the ones where nobody's doing anything.
I didn't get that specific with her. I don't text that fast. I'm sorry. I'm a one thumb texter kind of guy. I can't do the whole thing.
I would say that that's a good way to react to that, because I'm sure she is aware of that. But contracting is probably maybe a fine way to do it. And even they're doing a thing in more populous areas. I don't think anything around here, but if you get to the Triangle, they're doing a sponsor highway program where State Farm's one of them. Companies, bigger companies with deep pockets will just pay for that interstate, and they're probably having to clean those at least once a week. But hopefully that's bringing in money to DOT and helping offset some of that and spread it out. But those inmate work crews were a good way to do it.
Yep.
Surplus property. You have final bid for Wolf Laurel lots 7 and 12, $8,500.
Are those contiguous lots?
I'm not sure.
I think Sarah said previously they're not, but that they were closed on together, is how she answered that last time.
Okay, so they're owned by the same people, but they're not contiguous. There are two individual separate lots.
So we're at 8,500.
Good talking.
I'm sorry. What do you think, guys?
Any more discussion?
Let it go.
Putting it back on the books.
Yeah.
Yeah, I move we accept the final bid, 8,500, let them go.
We'll second that motion.
I have a motion by Commissioner Briggs, second by Commissioner Gentry for the approval of the final bid on the lots 7 and 12. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay.
A couple of updates on Gov Deals. 5 auctions closed on Friday, April 6th. Those were all non-running cars, with some having park strip to repair other county-owned vehicles. Total for those 5 cars, revenue generated was $2,796. Those monies have been paid and should be wired to the county sometime next week. Currently, there are 8 vehicles that are in the auction process. 3 of those would go to the general fund, and 5 are landfill vehicles based on when they're originally purchased. And you all had, those started out at the starting bids that you all had discussed at the March work session. And I also received an update on the rock building. The board in Mars Hill has approved conditional use permit for 16 units at the rock building.
Excellent.
Contingent on the additional property that I understand the Board of Education is going to be discussing Thursday night. Just to recap that for you all, this is a plan the town is now excited about, the county is excited about. This bill has been discussed for 3 years, probably longer, but definitely 3 years that I've been here. A lot of things, there are things to find wrong with this alternative. Yes, you can find something. But the reality is that if we can't find a use for that building, it's going to have to be torn down. It's going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to take it down. And that money's going to have to come from some county service somewhere that we're already stretching funds to cover. So hopefully everything will work out in the next little bit, and that won't be necessary, but that's where that is right now.
Excellent.
It's all on surplus property, and finally you have grant application, and as discussed with the students who were here earlier tonight about the one-to-one initiative, the need for internet access at home and business is a major issue for the county. It's been a priority for economic development for the last 2 years. Countywide survey was conducted in 2016 to confirm what we already knew, but we really had to have that to really get started on some of the work with providers that's been going on. That information was provided to providers in this room at a meeting in November of 2016. Also, not surprisingly, through that survey, Spring Creek, Laurel, Shut-In were specific areas that were found to have the least options. And the way the federal grants work, unfortunately, is they will count cell service as service for some of what you do. So you have to have that will limit some of the options of what you can do. But that French Broad Electric has used survey results as they're working to build out fiber to the home, which they've been doing. They have used some of that broadband survey data plus some of their own research that they do in an area, and they've added several hundred homes in the last year and a half to that. They're doing that because it has to be a payback method for them. They're doing that in the most densely populated areas that aren't already getting a service. So that's, vaguely speaking, a lot of areas south of 213 between Marshall and Mars Hill, where they can, for the cost per mile of construction, they can hit a lot of homes. And that's the difficult part about broadband. Everyone wants to know, what are you doing about it? The problem is cost for everyone who's involved. And these providers, whether they be a huge national corporation, or whether they're our local co-op, or whether it's the state or federal government or the county, we're talking tens of millions of dollars to build it out to the entire county. The last time there was easy money to get, significant money to get for this, was 2009. Yancey County got a loan. Took them about 7 or 8 years, but they got internet to 98, 99% of the residents. It was not an easy process for them to get it started, but they did it. That time has passed. It's not 2009. Money like that is not available right now. But there are some grant funds available, and as you discussed at your last meeting, there's an opportunity through the Appalachian Regional Commission for a $300,000 grant with a county match of $90,000 and then a small match from French Broad, total $410,000 from their own in-kind investment. And French Broad, in looking at their plan, they're the applicant on the grant, but they have to have sign-off from the local government, and the cash match will be provided by the local government in next year's budget based on the area they can serve for that amount of money and their service priorities. They'll be serving shut-in, unclear, we know it's lower, unclear on whether it's upper as well and whether it's also covering Paint Rockery in those areas, but that is their plan. If this is funded, that would allow them to move along, and any project getting more people on their system gets customers on their system that feeds into that side of their business, which they're keeping separate from their electric side, which is probably good for all of us who are paying a light bill. They are doing it that way, and getting more people on will get that going. So the request for tonight is to approve us submitting a pre-application, which is due next week, to the Appalachian Regional Commission. Full application will come this summer. Award comes usually in July or August, if that's the case, so we can move forward with that process.
Okay.
And for us, that would be providing that service to a part of the county that is really blind to that. You get outside of Hot Springs, and so that would be a real benefit to those people in that part of Madison County. Yeah.
And with the amount of money you have to start in a community, you know.
Sure.
We
Gotta
wish
start somewhere.
we don't have a $20 million grant, which is probably what it could take to do the entire county. Now, this is part of a larger thought process. There's another grant for grant for rural utility service with USDA for $3 million. That includes a $450,000 match that the co-op would provide. It'll take about a year to get through that, which again is frustrating because of the federal process. They're going to basically have to do door-to-door surveys to determine that nobody there has access to it, and that's really cumbersome and frustrating that is that way. But if that happens, you'd be serving, French Broad would be serving Spring Creek and Laurel, and that's
excellent.
That's fiber. That's the best solution.
That's excellent.
For all these places. French Broad should be commended for investing what they've done, where they have, being willing to do this. This would help them get started. Both of these are very competitive. The ARC not as much so because you're only competing with Appalachian County. The USDA grant, you're competing with
the whole country.
Rural states, entire rural states, so it's more difficult. Sarah and I and you all have been involved. We have to look at other technologies potentially in the future that aren't perfect, but they get it out there faster because it can take a long time to do fiber and do it all perfectly that way. It's a complex problem. It really boils down to money, and it's more difficult in rural areas because you've got to serve every home where they're going to go if they get one of these grants, and some houses are a couple of miles from the road, and they have to figure out how to deal with that on each one of those. Happy to answer any questions or seek your approval on this. Funds would come, the economic development sales tax. We budget every year for grant match, and that money was not all spent last year, and we've had that marked in our fund balance for this kind of grant opportunity. So you've got $147,000 sitting there that the $90,000 would come from.
How much sitting there?
147.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I would move that we authorize the county manager and our economic development person to proceed with this grant application.
Okay. This is a pre-application.
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Gentry for the continuation for the pre-application for the Appalachian Regional Commission grant. Second by Commissioner Rice. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Forrest.
Any more business from the board? Discussion? Comments? None? Do I hear a motion?
I will entertain your motion for adjournment.
All right. Second. A motion by Commissioner Gentry, second by Commissioner Rice to adjourn. All those in favor, raise your hand. We are adjourned.
So long. Drive safely going home. You want them in? Take yours. Do you want them in? Take yours.
Trash please, Bill.
Check with the ones that was a 3-year deal. The problem is, according to him, according to Senator Heinmuller.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir, you sure can. Right there.
The DPS
Yeah, man.
just quit and sent it
Who
out.
gave out these?
That's what you
As
took
soon
from my
as the
office
bid
this
process
morning.
even started.
I didn't take one from your
So,
office,
I
dear.
mean, they cut it
Well,
off
they had your name on it.
as early.
Listen, do you want this to see? I give you that one to my boss.
Yeah.
I must have left it
DPS
somewhere.
pulled the plug on it as soon as they realized that it was